All right. Now let's go here. Let's mirror your video. Yeah, there we go. Get my fat head out of the way so you can see my phone number clearly. That is my phone number. In case you want to buy a couple 100,000 ounces of silver, I could do that. Or you're a hot chick and you need cuddles. Either way, hot babe needing cuddles, super wealthy whale investor that wants me to make them a ton of money. I've made my clients hundreds of % on their money. And I can prove it. Oh, yeah. So, I don't want to brag, but I'm going to kind of have to. Hello from Mo. Hi, Mo. I know, it's Missouri. Thinking about moving there. Thinking about moving to southern Missouri. I'd go with northern Arkansas, but I understand they're just a little too hoity-toity still. They're probably a little too good for me. I get that. I understand. I'm just big and corn-fed. Hey, let's get back to me bragging about how good I am at investing. Can we do that for a second? Because I'm pretty good. Look, silver is up. Let's check. Silver is up. Ooh, what? Wait a minute. Why's the NASDAQ down? Ooh, 2% in one day. That's an ass whooping. What the fuck is going on? Well, I guess we got a little bounce there from Trump saying that, the war's over again, this time for realsy. By the way, I just want you to know that Trump is now 80 years old, and he won the Iran war, if you count Sunday, the last announcement. He won the Iran war 40 times. That's right. He announced 40 separate times that we had won the Iraq war. So if you're digging that, if you're digging the fact that we're winning that war, and on average every 2 years of his life since the day he was born, that's pretty fucking good. I haven't won a war every 2 years since the day I was born. I would have had to have won at least 10 or 20 wars by now. Let's just leave it at that. Silver, it's up again today, a little bit, not a lot, just 0.5% here, 0.5% there. But it's a funny thing about 0.5%, because if you go 0.5% here and 0.5% there, over the course of a year, that could be 150%. Okay, it's up just under 100% for the year, so that's good. I mean, look, I'm sure that if you've got Vanguard, State Street, Fidelity, Magellan funds, you're probably making more than 100% anyway, so there's no need to fly into safety, But of course, if you did want to make 100% annually, safely, you could call me. That's the number right there over my shoulder. I'll probably drink a lot of water on this live cast tonight because it was 111 downtown today. 111 degrees. In Celsius, that's go fuck yourself if you're from Europe, because you've never, ever seen what we just went through today. And if you had, about 100,000 people would have died because you're Europeans, and you would have declared a national emergency. We, Phoenicians, here in the heart of Arizona, we did not declare an emergency. We declared it a Tuesday, and we put our big boy fucking pants on and went and did what we always do when it's 111. Thank the Lord that it's not 117. By the way, I don't think it's going to get to one. I'm looking around like there's going to be a calendar with a forecast on it that's going to fall from the sky. I'm going to have to look that up. But I'm pretty sure it's not going to get above 110 again this week. It's actually going to be pretty freaking mild. All right, weather. Let's put weather. W-H-E. I'm just messing with you guys. It's not weather. Whether or not we watch the weather, we will watch the weather. Ah, look at that. Weather Underground. Can you believe that shit? Oh, if you're not a boomer, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. It's going to be. Yep. No AC in Europe and no ice. Well, it's not our fault they're stupid. It's not that hard to make ice. You take water and you put it into its fourth state. Maybe it's fifth state. Let's see. No, I think there's four states. There's a vapor, and then there's a liquid, and then there's beer, and then there's frozen solid. Okay, so yeah, there's four states. Beer is my favorite, by the way, although I don't drink beer much. But when I do, I drink good beer. Not that fancy European shit. 480-343-2276. I'm not saying that you should make over 100% in the next 12 months on your investments with more safety than you could possibly ask God to give you. But that's really what I'm suggesting. Well, the strong or the rich. There's a lot of fat people in Phoenix that are on diabetes drugs. And trust me, if the electricity goes off, they will literally not last a week. As a matter of fact, I believe, doesn't the Polish scientist took the recipe when he passed away for ice? Well, luckily, we made a copy of it over here in the United States. Oh, I was going to say, Sufi, are you out of your mind? Why would you want to live in Phoenix? To meet me in person. Well, it's kind of like if you were out hiking and you bumped into a Yeti with a goatee. Although, I'm pretty sure I don't smell as bad as a Yeti. I've heard some horrifying reports. I have a Bigfoot story, but it's kind of boring. It's really not much. I mean, it's proof that Bigfoot exists, but I didn't get to see him, which sucks because I would have loved to have met Bigfoot. At the time, I was in middle school, so, I wasn't huge. But now I'd like to meet him. That would be a blast. That would be super fun because we'd bump into each other on the trail and he'd be like, "You're too big to be a human. What are you?" Man, I saw my kid's always talking about how big he wants to be. He wants to be huge when he grows up. So I showed him a thing about really tall people, like extremely tall people, like people that are 7.5, 8 feet tall. And wow. Yes, see the 122 degrees. We're pretty closely related, Yeti and I. But yeah, it was really sad because the guys that are 7.5, 8 feet tall, I mean, even somebody like Manute Bol, who actually played in the NBA for a very short time, that guy can barely walk. Like, he can barely walk. I'm freaking a little, perhaps. So I got my son to agree that he doesn't want to be more than about 6'8", maybe 6'9". That's about it. Really, after, like, if you hit 7 feet, your life sucks. And it's very short. So he doesn't want that. 6'7" is right on the edge of freak. Anything over my height, and there's something that just looks wrong about you. Bigfoot may be Dob Man. Dodd Man. Dodd Man? One of my YouTube guys said that. I don't know what it means. Yes, I'm live on YouTube as well. And by the way, I'm very close to hitting 400 subscribers. I know, you're thinking, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? You got 120,000 subs on TikTok? Yeah, I was stupid, okay? I'll admit it. My friends said, hey, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And I was like, yeah, that sounds really complicated. I don't know how to do editing or any of that shit. I'd love to, but I don't even think anybody'd be interested. And a buddy of mine said, no, dude, do TikTok instead. And I said, why TikTok? He goes, because it's easy. You just hit the button, you record a thing, you hit another button, and you post it. Super easy. I was like, okay. I didn't realize YouTube is almost as easy. So I got 120,000 people on TikTok, while my buddies went out and got 150, 180, 200,000 on YouTube. TikTok's paid me $246 in the last couple of years. I know. Thank you very much. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be able to afford a pair of Nikes for my son. One of my buddies is making $20,000 a month on YouTube right now. He gets throttled back a lot. He talks about some controversial stuff, so he doesn't make as much as he could. But I just thought to myself, YouTube. So if you can help me get to 400, which is the first step to getting to 4,000, which of course is slightly less than the 400,000 I want to end up with. The plant exploded? What? I was in Laughlin when the sewer plant exploded, and it was 127 degrees in the early 90s. Those sound like disjointed things. Were you at the sewer plant? It was 120 and it blew up, or it blew up. You were in Laughlin. It was in Laughlin, and therefore Laughlin smelled like superheated shit the whole time you were there. There's a lot of options here. It's asking me to invite literally dozens of people onto this live stream with me. I don't know how that works. And he was hot. That makes sense. I was on the Colorado River. I dropped in with a kayak. Not a real kayak, not like a fucking you can flip over and drown not being able to get out of it kind of kayak. I sit on top, surf kayak, with some buddies of mine. It was right before Thanksgiving. And we decided that we were going to paddle from Laughlin down to the London Bridge. We had a 3-day weekend. We figured, hey, it's only 60 miles. How hard is it to go 60 miles if you're going downstream? Because the current's moving at like 4 miles an hour, right? And if you're in it for 12 hours, that should be 48 miles. Now, that's really not how it works. You don't actually keep up with the current, first of all. And secondarily, if you're big and fat and you sit up straight in your kayak and the wind blows against you, it completely stops you. Even if you have a 4-knot current, the amount of wind blowing directly in your face will actually stop your kayak. So then you have to paddle really hard just to go. It was fun, though. It was a lot of fun. It was one of those things where we didn't do any homework about where we would pull these kayaks out if we ended up spending the night. And it did take us 3 days. And we still didn't get all the way to the bridge. We didn't make it that far, but we made it most of the way. And we pulled out and set our stuff aside, found a ride, got back. It was all in all, it was a great weekend. It was super fun. But one thing I do remember is that it was really hot. Like we brought full on wetsuits because it's November and it got cold at night. We brought full on wetsuits. Fucking sun is just beating down on you. So you strip the wetsuit off down to the waist, and God forbid you see one of these little swirly things in the river near a bend or a rock or something. You're like, hey, little swirly whirlpool thing. That looks fun. You'd be shocked at how fucking strong those things are. Because I paddled right into one, and the next thing I knew, I was wishing that I had kept my wetsuit on because the water was really, really cold in November. So, but it was fun. It was a good time. Camped on the beach, ate this kind of stuff. Although this is Jamaican style jerk rice and beans. Oh, with chicken. Oh, shit. I didn't. You know what? I am so proud of myself. I bought 500 of these. It says serves 2, right? And monkeys are going to fly out of my ass. I weigh 300 pounds. This barely serves me. But the good news is it's 300 calories per serving, right? Yeah. So 620 calories. Good stuff. Yes. It is very fancy. I, honest to God, thought I was buying rice and beans. And the expiration date is, well, it's coming up pretty soon. That's okay. These are actually designed to go years and years and years past their eat by date, and they're still good. They're actually still delicious. And I've got lots of them. I mean, obviously, I bought a huge case of those. I mean, the box is enormous. It looks like you could fit a sarcophagus in there. Well, that is literally what I bought it for. I just, I had an opportunity to buy it wholesale at cost, which is very different than what you buy it for in the store. Normally, that would be $7 or $8. Actually, no, now it's $11 or $12. And I had an opportunity to buy it for $2.99 for each one. Yeah, the expiration date's just bullshit. Now, I did find out what the expiration date means on most things, including medical supplies. It's the date, and obviously they use it as a marketing tool to make you throw away old food and buy new stuff. But the reason that they started the dates is because the government mandated that they put on the packaging what date they could guarantee 100% effectiveness for the drug. So if the drug were, say, 99% effective after 5 years, that's it. 5 years is all they could guarantee, so they'd put an expiration date of 5 years on it. Does that mean that it's 98% effective 10 years from now? Yeah, probably. Although I also read a study that was done for the Marine Corps specifically having to do with medical supplies, tablets, like water treatment tablets and things like that. And what they discovered that in tablet form, most medications, if they can be put in a tablet form, never expire. No, I read that it was the federal government because I was looking at some medication that I had, and I was like, "And this shit's 10 years old. I got to throw this out." And then I read the thing. Do things actually expire by their use by date if they're medication? Medications don't instantly spoil, but their expiration date matters. Critical medications, yada yada, blah blah blah. National Institutes of Health. Oh, now there's a group of people I wouldn't trust with a fucking brick. National Institutes of Health. Stay indoors. But 85% of the people that are hospitalized with COVID have a vitamin D deficiency. Yeah, stay indoors. But don't you get like 200 IU of vitamin D for 20 minutes in the sun? Yeah, stay indoors. Mike? Dennis. You know what we call people like you, right? An optimist. The world's gonna get bad. But look, you want to talk about optimism? The way that I look at it is everything goes through cycles. You don't know what hot is unless you know what cold is. You know, it's that is not is philosophy theory that something cannot exist without its opposite. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. If it were 80 degrees every single day, all day, all night, 80 degrees, the entire planet, nobody would know what the word cold meant. They wouldn't really know what the word hot meant. If I said, hey, it's warm, they'd go, warm? What's that? I go, well, this. And they go, what's this? Well, this is 80 degrees. What does that mean? Well, it could be 74 degrees. What are degrees? See, you can't have something without its opposite because you just don't know what it, you have nothing to compare it to. So if God is perfect, then in a perfect world, you would have a balance. Now, does that mean that somebody in the world has to suffer? Yeah, actually it does. Does that mean that there have to be evil people? Well, I imagine if it were me, and you know, this is what I get. This is what I get the most fun out of with my kids is imagining that we're God. So if I'm God and I make the world and I say, you know what, I'm going to make everybody just like me. That made my kids laugh, by the way, really fucking hard. I didn't beat them, but I wanted to just a little bit, just briefly, like, oh, really? I'm that bad, huh? So anyway, I make everybody just like me. And then I give them everything because, you know, I'm dad. I love them. I want them to be happy. So I make everything perfect. Well, okay. So now everything's perfect. There's no wars. There's no killing. There's no anger. There's no envy. There's nothing. It's just love. And they seem really, really, really bored. Like to the point where they're unhappy. And I go to them and I say, guys, aren't you happy? And they go, what's happy? And I say, well, it's the opposite of sad. And they go, what's sad? Oh, shit. They have no idea. They don't know that they're lucky because they've never had any kind of test. They don't know what scared is. They don't know what mad is. They don't know what you know, miserable feels like. But if they did, then they would probably appreciate what they've got now. So, yeah, the world must have something other than happy, 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 which would make you believe that maybe the world is perfect the way it is. Now, that doesn't mean we settle for the way it is, because the struggle to make things better is what makes us appreciate them getting better. If they just get better on their own and we have nothing to do with it, it just gets a little better from time to time. It's like, okay, it's a little better. But if you fight, kick, scratch, bite, and force it to get better, then you can actually enjoy it getting better, in my opinion. So the struggle is really the key to it. Let's see here. Let's do it this way. Did the federal government mandate expiration dates on medications? Yes. The federal government does mandate expiration dates since 1979. And again, the date is to guarantee their full potency, safety, and stability, which is a great excuse to put the soonest possible expiration date. That's exactly right. What I is, what I s. Big Bob, not sure where you're going with that. By the way, some comments were filtered, and the reason they were filtered was for the overall experience. What is your take on Freemasonry? I don't think that a lot of people in Freemasonry know what Freemasonry is. They should. It would be good if they all did, but they do a lot of rituals and a lot of shit that I don't think they ever had got an explanation for. I do believe that there are some offshoots, some secret societies within the secret society, which is terribly kept secret now, that are different. There was a group of Masons in Italy, and they basically ran a secret government in the 50s and 60s. No, I don't think it's satanic at all. They have a saying that they can't make a bad man good, but they can make a good man better. And I've seen a lot of the things that they do together. My grandfather was a 32nd degree Mason, which is as high as you can get, unless you're one of, I think, 2 people in the world who makes it to 33rd degree. But I believe 30, well, let me check. Is 33rd degree Mason the highest? No, it's not the highest. Okay, so it's 33rd and then 34th. Whoa. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. 3rd degree. Okay, so you've got apprentice, fellow craft, and then 3rd degree, master mason, which is the highest and most essential rank in Freemasonry. So what's the 33rd degree? This is not a rank of authority. It is purely an honorary degree bestowed by a Supreme Council in recognition of exceptional service to the fraternity or to humanity. Okay. So, when you think about this, Masons are the ones who built the United States. Most of the founding fathers were Masons. I think that there will be some very interesting stuff that comes out of that comes out in the next few years about what the Masons and the Templars did. You know, the Templars were something that kind of I was a little on the fence about them because Templars came up with first international banks, and I don't like banks, and I don't like bankers, and I don't like usury. But from what I understand, the Masons did, or the Templars, when they came up with this first international style bank, they didn't charge interest. They simply charged you a fee for taking care of your money and being able to help you move your assets from point A to point B. Because they had cryptography that was so good that nobody could translate the notes that they gave you to give to the next lodge when you got there to allow you to have whatever amount of gold or silver that you had given the first lodge. Nobody knew how much you'd given that first Templar lodge until you got to the second or final Templar lodge and gave them that slip. They could decode it and say, all right, so you've got 200 pieces of silver and 10 pieces of gold for a total weight of X amount. They would weigh it out and give it to you. That way you didn't have to travel with any money. And if you're not traveling with any money, there's no real reason to kill you if you're a bandit, because they know you don't have anything. So, smart stuff. As far as Masons go, I see a lot of good people that are Masons, a lot of good men that are Masons, but I don't see a lot of bad Masons. So what'd you think, Ferris? See, joining, yes. Well, Big Bob, that's one theory I've never heard before, but the Templars were attacked on Friday the 13th, which is why we consider that bad luck to this day. But most of the Templars were never found. The Templar treasure was never found either. Now, what's interesting about that is that I think that there are people right now, I know there are, and I'm not really at liberty to talk about it yet, but there are people out there who have been looking for the Templar treasure, and it looks like they may have found where it was, but it's not there. Yeah, once a Mason, always a Mason. You are, after Trump and Zelensky had a meeting today. Well, I don't expect much. See, the problem with Zelensky is the same problem that you have with Netanyahu. When this is over, his odds of survival anywhere are very, very slim. He's not gonna make it. He's stolen a huge amount of money. And now with Tulsi Gabbard coming forward and releasing all this stuff about biolabs, which, by the way, I thought, I heard this 4 years ago when all this kicked off and people were saying, yeah, we had a bunch of biolabs there. I was like, come on, guys. You really think that we had biolabs, like doing all kinds of dirty, nasty, illegal shit all over the world? I mean, I know we had them in China because obvious, but to say that we have them all over the world, I'm not buying. Then to find out a couple of days ago when Tulsi Gabbard announced that yes, there were dozens of them And there are dozens more all around the world in many countries. I went, oh shit. Like, I just want the United States to stop fucking being the bad guys for just a minute. Let's just, please, just for a minute, can we stop being the obvious assholes in the room? Gain of function research? Really? Are we really trying to end humanity? We've gotten to the point now where we can specifically go after types of people. You want to eliminate Asians, if you want to eliminate Africans, if you want to eliminate white people, there are very specific genomes that you can go after with these super revved up viruses. The problem is, what happens when you don't mean to let one out and it gets out anyway? Because you got to remember, these biolabs are in countries where, yeah, it might be in the United States, it would be Fort Detrick, Maryland, and the odds of you walking in are zero. Do you think you're going to walk into Fort Detrick, Maryland, and walk out of there with some, some kind of biohazard? Not going to happen. But these are countries where literally I could walk in, and if I had a few $1,000s on me, I could bribe my way straight into the vault where they keep the anthrax. Bribe my way. Here, it's $500. Look the other way. Look, you didn't talk to me. No, of course I didn't talk to you. Here, here's $500. There's $1,000. Here's $1,000. Oh, you're the guy who's got the key to the level 4 lab, the one I want? I'll give you $10,000. Nobody will ever know I'm here. Done. Fucking done. That's it. A nuclear weapon does not scare me anymore. No one is stupid enough to light one off. There's zero plausible deniability. Oh, you could try and knock out somebody's systems with a cyber attack, blind them temporarily, light one off in a city, but they're going to find all the remains of it. They're going to find all the bits and pieces. They're going to put it back together. They're going to have a signature. They're going to know what type of plutonium you used. They're going to be able to figure out what the strontium mixture was, and they'll know who you are. I'm not worried about nukes. I am worried about viruses. I am really worried about viruses because some of these things, look, some of them last on surfaces for weeks. Luckily, the ones that are super deadly usually don't. Some of these things take years to manifest, sometimes weeks, months. A lot of times people don't know they have rabies for weeks after they get bit. They don't go to the hospital. They don't get treatment. That's why when the first known survivor of rabies left the hospital just recently, I saw that. It's a woman, young woman. She actually survived rabies. Nobody survives rabies. Well, rabies you have to be bitten. It has to be somebody's saliva that gets into your bloodstream. Yeah, it's true. But what if they could change that? What if they could make it so just the aerosol, just somebody sneezing or coughing, could put it on the surface? What if they could make it so that you could just touch something that has it? Not even touch something and wipe your eyes. Not even touch something and, put your finger in your mouth. Just touch something and it's absorbed through your skin. Could you do that? I don't know. But the idea that the only people who do know the answer to that are the worst fucking humans in the world, the most insane pieces of dog shit that you could possibly imagine, that does bother me. But again, that's why I've got hundreds of these. Because if the shit hits the fan, I'm going away somewhere far, far away. And, you know, I will be very isolated. And that's that. You know, you take your kids, you take your loved ones, you go somewhere, you tell people that show up at your campsite, look, man, no hard feelings, but you can't come into my campsite. You got to go away. And if you don't, well, that's all of the problem. I'm afraid of ticks that will make me allergic to meat. You should be. Somebody seems to be dropping them off all over Texas, boxes full of them. Now, who could that be? Well, let's see. Who's doing research on those ticks? Oh, Bill Gates is. Bill Gates. Who's doing research on that whatever gal disease? Oh, Bill Gates. That's who. Who owns the company that makes lab-grown meat that you aren't allergic to? Oh, that would be Bill Gates as well. Flat Earth. I was on a date once. She told me that at 30 years old, she'd been in prison for 12 years. That means that she hadn't been with a man since she was 18 years old. I was the first date that she'd gone on. About 6 feet tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, absolutely gorgeous. Baby doll face. Didn't have an ounce of fat on her. She was something else. And I thought to myself, she went to prison for killing her boyfriend. It was an accident. Well, at least that's what she said. Now, obviously, the coroner didn't believe her, and the police didn't believe her, the jury didn't believe her, and the judge didn't believe her, but she was so hot that I was absolutely ready to believe her. I just thought, after we're done, I'm going to make damn sure that I do not piss her off before I fall asleep. I know you're thinking pretty ballsy of you. You should have probably just planned on not spending the night. But that's how hot she was. I was willing to risk it all. Why am I telling you this story? Because as they served us our main course, she mentioned to me that the biggest conspiracy in the world today is that the earth is flat. And it was at that moment that I knew, beyond any reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty, that I would never, ever put my loins anywhere near hers. Because the idea of actually having a child with her was totally terrifying. Take that for what it's worth. And no, I don't think the earth is flat. Clearly. I know that there are people who do. And I simultaneously enjoy listening to them talk and admire them for their hang on, let me check a word. Meaning of the word mendacity. Formal noun that means the tendency or habit to be untruthful. No, that doesn't quite get it. Mendacity is somebody who's lying. She was not lying. Unfortunately, she wasn't lying. She truly believed that the earth was flat. I said, like a pizza. And she giggled and said, "Don't be silly." And I said, "Well, like Antarctica would be the crust." And she went, "Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I guess if you think of it that way, yeah." Having that woman unalive me after we did the deed, that didn't scare me. Having offspring with somebody who believes that the fucking earth is flat, that terrifies me. Yes, I did actually make that joke about the snow globe. Yes, gin. Gin will make the earth flat and it will make you horizontal upon it. Yeah, I did actually say that because she said when they fire the rockets off, you see how they go like that? And I said, yeah, I thought that that was so that they could gain enough enough uh, speed that they could reach escape velocity, which I think is like 25,000 miles an hour. And she said, no, that's not what it is. And I said, oh, well, why do the rockets curve like that? And she said, so that they won't hit the top. The top of what? Well, clearly the top of the, whatever. Yes, she was blonde. Um, the top of the thing. And I said, so you're saying that the earth is flat, but it's got a dome like a snow globe? And I went like that. And she goes, well, I mean, it's not that simple, but I guess in a sense, yes. Firmament. Yeah, because firmament means something to me. It means nothing to me. I've read a couple dozen times now. Every time I get a good laugh. But the firmament, so that's the ground? The firmament's the ground? Or it's the sky? Or it's the thing in between? It's like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Firmament. See, it separates the waters above and below. Well, what would separate the waters above and below? First of all, the waters above what? Like rain? It just doesn't make any sense. Of course, that's the beautiful part about the Old Testament. It's not my book. As a Christian, I don't have to give two shits about that book because clearly the people who wrote the book, the people who lived in those times, and the people who still worship that book, God said, nope, you guys totally fucked this up. Like, nope, sorry, I'm revoking your super special status because look, Ball, I was not happy about Ball, but then this other guy, you have to sacrifice your babies. Look, you guys are way off track. Look, I'll send a guy down there and he's going to tell you what to do. Do it or don't. But if you don't do it, then I'm done with you. So the books of Enoch are fake. No, there were angels, 200 angels that came down, and they decided that they were going to hump women because they're hot. I mean, I don't blame them. I've humped women too, and it's fun. It's actually a lot of fun. It's one of the most. It's probably actually, now that I think about it, it's the most fun thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah, I can honestly say that fooling around with the daughters of man is fucking awesome. I'd be doing it right now if I could, but I'm single. And I love you guys, so of course I want to do a live stream too, but so I don't blame the watchers. The Dead Sea Scrolls, you probably don't want to go there with me because I've read all about the Dead Sea Scrolls. I've read about the Essenes. I've read about the scribes, the Essene scribes that were supposed to have written the Dead Sea Scrolls. They didn't, because Kurbet Qumran, you can look that up. Kurbet Qumran was not Jewish. And I know people say, no, the ruins are clearly, they're next to the Dead Sea, they're Jewish. Until anybody that's not an idiot digs up the cemetery right outside the wall and says, wait, Jewish law forbade anyone from being buried within 100, whatever they used at the time, 100 meters, let's say, of the inside of a town. They had to be buried hundreds of meters away. There are burials all around Kurbet Qumran. Well, I will say this, the Watchers are in some deep shit. You don't get to diddle my daughter without paying the price. Now, if it were me, I would have just whooped their ass. Of course, it's hard to do because theoretically they were spiritual beings, not of this earth. And then, and this is one of the reasons I think that the story's horseshit, not entirely horseshit, but there's something spooky going on here. God said to them, you're spiritual beings, you're angels. I sent you to watch over these stupid monkeys I created in my image, and you decided to pork them instead because you wanted to know what it felt like to be human. So now I'm going to give you a taste of humanity. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to fucking murder your children while you watch. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. And once I murder your children in front of you, I'm going to stuff you in a black hole in the earth where you will remain for all of eternity. You'll never get out. And the Watchers said, oh shit, we fucked that up. Hey, Enoch, can you do us a favor? And Enoch, being the good dude he was, said, yeah, what do you guys need? And the Watchers, who were all in front of him on this hill, said, please go to God, tell him how sorry we are, tell him we didn't mean to break the rules. It's just, the girls were just too hot. It's too fucking hot, man. It's a mistake, Hey, look, everybody makes mistakes. Now, of course, not all of them lead to you putting your penis in somebody else, but in this case, it did. Go talk to God for us. And Enoch said, all right, I can do that. God and I are pretty tight. And he went to God and he explained to God that, look, the Watchers are really sorry, pled their case. And God said, you know what, Enoch? It's really cool that you came to me. And you are absolutely the coolest dude I know. Tell them I said no, they're going to burn, but not in hell. They're not going to hell. They're going to a hole in the earth that I stick them into, a bottomless pit of blackness. That's that. My decision's made, and I am going to kill all their offspring. By the way, Enoch, because I love you, man, I'm gonna have some other angels take you and show you the universe. Now, if it were me, I'm just saying, if God came to me and said, hey, man, I love you, bro, I'd be like, of course you do. You and I are simpatico, man. I'm in your image. What's not to love? Have you fucking seen yourself in the mirror lately? Yeah. So anyway, what were you saying, God? And he'd go, hey, man, I'm going to take my angels and I'm going to tell them to take you for a spin. You're going to see the whole universe. It shouldn't take long. It's pretty small compared to me. Actually, it is me. Anyway, let's not get into that. It's confusing. Just go. And so Enoch climbed up a ladder into heaven, which, by the way, had a bunch of beings walking around and doing things. They were at work and they were pressing buttons and whatnot. And the whole inside of heaven was covered with different colored gemstones that lit up. Now, I know you're thinking, that sounds like a spaceship. And those sound like LED panels. Yeah, it does. It's fucking weird, right? $111 today. What am I thinking? Anyway, so I'm giving you the stripped down version in case you haven't read all of the books of Enoch like I have. It's some crazy shit. And it makes me wonder, what was it that the Jews thought they were worshiping when they thought they were worshiping God, but what was it that they were actually worshiping? Because it's not God. The Old Testament is full of anger, hate, resentment, fear, loathing, and just straight up goofy shit. Like, if God is everything, okay, and this is why I decided I kind of dig this Jesus dude. I can follow this guy. When you look at the Old Testament, the very first thing that they talk about, and by the way, they talk about it all the time, is don't you worship any other gods before me. Other gods? Well, right there, you lost me because you lost the script. You completely fucked that up. If there's a God, it is God. There are no other gods. There's only God. The universe is God. There's nothing outside of God because God is all there is. God is either everything or God is nothing. There's no way around that. Anybody who thinks that there's a little God, okay, who made the little God? Well, how hard would it be, I'm wondering, if Jesus came down here and did everything right, which it looks to me like he did, then the question is, what went wrong with Lucifer, the light bearer, the morning star, the coolest angel there was? So pretty, it's just, Rob Lowe, move over. So, but here's the problem. Lucifer decided, hey, I'm gonna do something that God doesn't want me to do. I'm gonna challenge God. Well, how does that happen? How do you have a thought? Well, you either believe in God or don't, one or the other. If you believe in God, God is everything. Nothing exists outside of God. Nothing can exist outside of God. The idea of free will is almost idiotic. It's almost ridiculous that the creator of everything does not know what your thoughts are, does not have those thoughts before you could possibly imagine them. Maybe actually sends you here so that you can express those thoughts. That's the reason he made you. So, if he didn't want Lucifer to become the devil, he would have said, hey, man, what's this I hear? You're going to overthrow me? And the devil would have said, yeah, pal, here's what's going to happen. And God would have gone, these aren't the droids you're looking for. And Lucifer would have said, overthrow? Who? What? No, I'm not. No, you know me. Hell, I love you, man. What? Hey, by the way, is there anything you need done today? Want me to take you dry cleaning or something? It would have been that easy because God is God. But somehow, everything keeps slipping through God's fingers and getting all fuckered up. And people aren't listening to God, and people aren't obeying God. And, well, the consequences of not obeying God are that God's going to destroy you. He's going to tear your people out by the root. That means killing your children, too. Because children, yeah, you got to get rid of them. Because they're going to grow up and be bastards like you. So you got to kill the kids. Now, I know you're thinking, wait, there are lots of societies that won't do that. Yeah. I mean, look at the mafia. The mafia is supposed to be this big, bad terrorist organization of crime. They don't kill women and children. Skinheads, even. These horrible neo-Nazi gangs that think that whatever, I don't even know, but they don't kill women and children. They are absolutely adamant about it. I've read about it. They are adamant. No women, no children. You don't do that. Okay. But in Judaism, their book says absolutely fucking wipe them out. Slaughter every one of them. And I think Gaza has proven that they still feel that way today. Headshots over and over again. That's crazy. It's crazy stuff. So my point is that anybody who believes that God is selfish, scared, or stupid, you're not worshiping God. You might think you are. Well, that's the problem. That doesn't sound like that. The Old Testament's not a loving God. That's a hateful, angry, vindictive, vengeful God who wants everything exactly the way he says all the time. And then you get to the New Testament and it's like, okay, so Jesus, what's God want from us? Well, pretty short list, really. Pretty short list. I'll give you some advice and then I'll give you one commandment. Oh, well, since you're the new covenant, do we have to listen to the old covenant? No. Okay, so you're going to boil this whole thing of 10 commandments down to one commandment. What is it? Love thy neighbor. Really? That is way fucking harder than the other 10 combined. Yeah. It's the most important one. It is the most important one. But love thy neighbor. Have you met my neighbors? Doesn't matter. Love thy neighbor. Okay, so wow. What about gay dudes? Nothing. Okay. What about what about girls who wear plaid shirts with no sleeves and construction boots? Not a word, not a peep. Huh. Okay, but what about this? What about children? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Think about this. Jesus had some words for people who hurt children, didn't he? Anyone who would hurt one of these should tie a millstone around their neck and throw themselves into the deepest part of the sea. What? No, God gave the Jews 10 commandments and they didn't follow them. And so they are no longer his chosen kids. They screwed him over and over and over. And so he gave up on them. And he didn't really give up on them. I mean, he sent Jesus, and Jesus said, "Hey, look, you guys, you're way off track. You're literally the synagogue of Satan now, and you don't even know it. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, sacrifices, no. Your temple, where you go because you think that God's in the temple, that temple's going to be gone in one single lifetime. It won't be here anymore." And what they do to Jesus? They killed him. They went to Herod and said, "You got to get rid of this guy." And he said, "Oh, it sounds like a you problem, not a me problem." The Romans were like, "Hey, man, you're the Sanhedrin. You deal with it." Trinity MC is a Christian outlaw club. Well, you can't be outlaws and Christians because you're following God's laws. Now, you can be an outlaw as far as man's laws are concerned, and I can't even tell you how happy I am to hear that because there's some really screwed up man's laws. Man's really fucking up the laws big time right now. Yeah, and it's governments. Governments do what they do. Governments are horrible. Pontius Pilate, right? That's right. Pontius Pilate said that's a you problem. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. It's funny. They went around and they killed all the kids when Jesus was born. Herod. That never happened. There isn't a single bit of evidence. There isn't one single mass grave where any of that happened. Oh, yeah. Trust me, man makes man's laws because man wants to be God. No, it's true. Herod was a Roman puppet. What's interesting is if you look at the Bible from a historical standpoint, from just an archaeology standpoint, there's some big holes. There's some issues. However, if you do what I did and you say, the messenger did not want you to conflate the message with the messenger. Jesus said, "You'll do greater miracles than I." So wait a minute. So am I supposed to worship you? Nope. So am I supposed to say that you're God? Well, Jesus actually had a very direct answer for that. Put no man before God, not even me. Oh, so you're a man and you don't want to be put in front of God. Okay, well, that's very simple. Now, how probably half of the Christians in the world fucked that up so royally and destroyed that and started saying idiotic, completely counterproductive shit like, Jesus is Lord. What? Like, literally, he said out of his own mouth, no, not God, God, me. I was sent here by God to give you a message. Don't get all wrapped up in me. Listen to my message. Okay, what's your message? Well, my message is pretty simple. You got to love each other. It's all about love. By the way, I want you to love old people, and I want you to love the disabled. I want you to love the crippled, blind, the crazy. I want you to love criminals. What? Love criminals. See how many criminals are no longer criminals with a little bit of love. Love them. But most importantly, love the little ones. Love children. They're the most important among us. That was a very, very clear message. Oh, and absolutely, take care of the poor. Take care of the poor. Wow. We don't talk about that part of the Bible, do we? No, we don't. So, kids are awesome. I've only had 5. You know, it's amazing. I don't even have any stretch marks. That's because I take good care of myself. And I use cocoa butter a lot. Cocoa butter. Yeah. I still look like I'm. Well, let's not get into that. So Trump takes away food stamps. Yeah, from 700,000 children. 700,000 children in 12 states have lost all of their food stamp benefits, poor kids, because of his big, beautiful bill. That is an absolute verifiable fact. Well, Havana syndrome, I'm going to guess. You know, I mean, at one point, everybody laughed and said it was just a beehive, whatever. I think Havana syndrome are probably directed energy weapons. Paula White is an absolute, well, you know what Paula White is. I don't have to tell you. You just watch her for a minute. Well, it could be microwaves. It's possible. There are several different directed energy weapons that, I mean, we've got a directed energy weapon that we had, God, this was 30 years ago. I watched it being tested. And ultra low frequency, ultra high powered, low frequency. And if you are anywhere near where that thing goes off, you automatically shit yourself. Just everywhere. You lose bowel control instantly and for a good few minutes. Talk about a way to totally demoralize a group of soldiers before going into battle. It's like, yeah, man, we were ready. We were about to jump out of the trench and charge the bad guys, and then we shit ourselves. And, well, we didn't feel great after that. Directed energy weapons are the shit, man, honestly, because that joke wrote itself. But, you know, I don't, look, in a perfect world, if we go to war with somebody, I don't want to kill people, you know? I'd just as soon have a fucking arm wrestling contest. Let's go out there and do Indian leg wrestling or, you know, play play a game of soccer. Let's get that over with that way. Let's not do it the old-fashioned way where we just murder so many people. It's that shit's getting old. It's time to evolve past that. And I understand there are some evil, evil humans out there. And you know what? There are a lot of different ways that you can take care of that. I think that the dictators out there, the people that are the ones who order this sort of thing, if you think that the death penalty is too cruel, that's fine. Okay, let's do this. Let's give them a frontal lobotomy. Let's lobotomize them. Oh, well, that's cruel. You're scrambling their brains. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. I believe that there are millions of people in the world that need that done now, immediately. The true psychopaths in this world have absolutely no empathy, no emotion, no sympathy. They don't care about you. They are literally, as my daughter pointed out to me, without a soul. They literally have no soul. Well, if you can't love, if you don't feel anything at all, if you could do away and unalive your parents and your children and not feel any remorse, not feel any sadness, not even have your heart rate go up, so just do it. Because, I met somebody that entertains me. She's awesome. She entertains me. Or they found out something I didn't want anybody to know about my business. So I have motive, means, and opportunity. I'm going to go for it. That's it? That's why you did it? Yeah. These people have no souls. Well, if you have no soul, then by definition, you're not human. This is literally what the Jews teach about Goyim, about us. They teach that we don't have a human soul. We have literally an animal soul. It's like a dog or a monkey. So here's the question. What if people who are truly psychopathic, what if they aren't really human? Oh, they've got a human body. They can think, react the way humans do. But what makes a human being a human being? Okay, so we're monkeys. So monkeys have very little or no impulse control. Look at chimpanzees. Stare at a chimpanzee. Bury your teeth at a chimpanzee. That's a challenge. You're about to get killed by a chimpanzee. That's all you need to do. Beat on your chest a little bit and scream at them. Show them your teeth, and you will get killed by one. They have no impulse control. They're not going to negotiate with you. They're not going to say, hey, man, are you okay? Are you having a bad day? Nope. Instantly, you just turned on their aggression. And they don't care. So what makes a human being a human being? I would say that our soul, our spirit, is what separates us from most of the other animal kingdom. That's why I don't think that we're that separated from things like horses. They may not be as smart, but they clearly love us. Elephants, they have a memory that is 50, 60 years. They remember faces. They remember things that they did back then. They remembered who raised them when they were babies, even though now they're very old. They remember everything, and they show affection. If you show affection, that's love. Now, there are lots of animals that I think have souls, and almost all human beings have souls. But what about the ones who don't have souls? Elephants Elephants do some crazy shit. Well, that's the problem, Kimberly. They're born that way. A lot of these children, like you see these children, and it's almost like these horror movies where there's this evil child who does all these evil things when they're such a cute little girl, or oh, he's such a sweet boy, and then you see him push his maid off the balcony, and you're like, oh, fuck, all right, Joey's got a problem here. So they're born that way. But the question is, what are they? Because there's only two possible answers here. They're an aberration, clearly. Clearly. 100 years ago, they represented 1.5% of the total population, according to the French psychiatrist who discovered psychopathy, who said, by the way, it was the most existential danger to humanity. 1.5% of the population, he said, was the most dangerous existential risk to humanity right now. Ooh, Matthew, we're getting off into some crazy shit, right? We're getting off into some crazy shit. Demons? Well, what's a demon? I mean, what you hear is that a demon looks like a human, but they have no soul. And they're capable of great evil. Pretty scary, right? Oh, Rockefeller totally fits the profile. Well, here's the issue. How does God allow some humans to be born without a soul? Well, that's impossible, Chris King, because there's a lot more psychopaths in the world now than there are fallen angels. Think about it. Now, by the way, we're at 2.5% of the total population is psychopath. Now, some psychopaths are mildly psychopathic. Who told me that 2.5%? It's called The Sociopath Next Door. It's a book by the woman who was the dean of Harvard Medical School. She was also a psychiatrist. And so, interestingly enough, this book talks about sociopathy. Now, being a sociopath or being a psychopath, there are a lot of different ideas about what those two things could mean. I've always used the definition that I made up myself 25 years ago. And that is, and I've said this to many psychiatrists who said, yeah, actually, that's a pretty good one. And that is, if you are born normal and through an enormous amount of trauma, you have chosen to put up these walls and no longer feel certain things, then you're a sociopath. You have blocked that feeling of love. You refuse to allow yourself to feel that. That's usually out of fear of being hurt. If you're a psychopath, psychopathy is very different. You're born with a part of your amygdala that does not work. With bad parents, you can use your soul to be better, unless you don't have one. And then the best parents in the world, the ones who treat you with love and respect and send you to the best schools and sit down and do your homework with you every day and love you constantly, they can't fix you. Been caring for 30 years, never had to even show it. Oh yeah, absolutely. Frontal cortex, well, let's see. Where does the amygdala reside? Deep within the brain's temporal lobes, just above and slightly behind the ears. There is one amygdala in each hemisphere of the brain, positioned immediately in front of the hippocampus. Function: it acts as an early warning system, rapidly producing incoming sensory information and triggering emotional responses. Fear, anxiety, fight or flight. They have none of those. It's funny because when they were tested initially, they were shocked by a doctor who was working in England. This is back in the 70s. The guy who developed the psychopath test, which has been kind of debunked because it covers a lot of stuff that a lot of other people do too, not just psychopaths. But he would shock people, and when I say people, inmates that had committed horrible crimes, whether it was grape, unaliving people, unaliving entire families, unaliving their own family, that type of thing. And what he found that in spite of how horrible the crimes were and how tough the guys acted, if you hooked them up to a electroshock, and you told them, if I think you're lying, I'm going to shock the shit out of you. You understand that, right? And then you hooked them up to an EEG and all that stuff and watch their brainwave activity and their pulse and their fingertips to see if they were sweating, like lie detector stuff. What would happen is, initially, he would say, I think you lied. And he would look, nothing on the EEG. It would just be, 65 heart rate. And then he'd shock them. And then boom, their pulse would spike, perspiration would spike, all of the classic signs of extreme stress. And then after he shocked them, he'd watch it come down slowly. And then after the first time, when they'd be talking and he'd say, are you sure that's true? You're not lying to me, are you? And he'd reach for the button. You could watch very, very, it was just obvious. The heart rate started to go up, fingertips, there was perspiration, breathing changed, EEG changed, everything. They knew what was about to happen. They were in fear that he was about to shock them. He hadn't shocked them yet. And then if he didn't shock them, he said, all right, I'll take your word for it. Keep telling me. As they were talking, he would just reach over and hit the button and say, I think you lied. Same thing. They would go up, it would come down slowly, and they would get even more afraid. And you could see that their anxiety level just kept going up through the whole interview. And it was just, to the point where they were just terrified he's going to hit that button at any minute. Except for about 2.5 or 3% of these guys, the worst of the worst. They had no reaction at all. He would zap them, everything would go up, he would take his finger off, and it would come right back down to baseline. No anxiety. He would say, after the first time he shocked him, I think you're lying. He'd reach over and put his finger on the button and he'd look. Heart rate didn't increase at all. Breathing didn't change. Nothing. They have no emotional memory. No emotional memory. Not only do they not love, they don't fucking fear. Well, why don't you fear? Well, because I don't remember. You don't remember being scared shitless 5 minutes ago. I remember it happening. I just don't feel anything. It's like, how could you not? How could you not react to that? They couldn't. So that's the problem. If it does register, there's no storage space for it. There's no storage space. That part of their brain doesn't work. So, okay, they can't remember consequence. They don't give a shit about anything in the world. They literally cannot feel empathy or sympathy. So they're mindless in that sense. but they're not stupid. State of California decided in their infinite wisdom, the lollipop eaters that they are, that what needed to happen was you needed to put a bunch of psychopaths in a room together with a good therapist so that they could talk about their feelings. This is after the psychopath test was developed and after they realized that the amygdala of these monsters doesn't exist. The state of California, in their wet willy frame of mind, decided that we're just going to be the goodest, good bastards in the world. And they put a bunch of them in a room together, and they allowed them to talk to each other about their feelings. It was unbelievably successful. Nobody expected it to work. They wanted to try it anyway. Treat all humans with dignity. Well, within months, the reform that they saw, the changes that they saw in the behavior of these patients was tremendous. So they decided that because they had made so much progress so quickly, they were going to let them out of the mental institution that they were in, the maximum security prison for the criminally insane, hospital, for the criminally insane. 98% recidivism rate. Recidivism rate, for those of you who don't know about this kind of stuff, that's how many people did the same shit again. 98% of all of them went straight out and did it again. Jason, that's awesome. So they went back and they reviewed the tapes, the videos of these meetings, and they realized something. These motherfuckers weren't sharing their feelings. They were rehearsing. They were practicing. They were watching each other. And it's like, oh, you took a little beat there when you said that. Almost looked like you were going to cry. That's good. Okay, I'm going to do that. That fucking looked real. Because they don't know how to read facial expressions. That's the one thing that will always give a psychopath away. They've shown psychopaths dozens and dozens of pictures. A woman grimacing in pain. And it's obvious, like, oh, she's in pain. What's she laughing about? She's laughing. I could see that. A woman crying. She looks happy. What? Somebody who's clearly angry, and they don't get it. They have no idea. They don't think he's angry at all. They can't read emotions because they don't know what they feel like. These people are out walking among us. The number one place that you'll find a psychopath on earth right now is in the CEO office of every major corporation. Because they're not stupid. And they'll do whatever it takes. They'll sabotage another person's success. Sure. They'll do whatever it takes. And they get to the top. And they don't take no for an answer. Think about that. Win at all costs. Well, I'm only doing this because I love my shareholders. Really? Are you a shareholder? Yeah, that has nothing to, no. Are you kidding? I don't do this for myself. Yeah, I own 21 million shares. Yeah, I made $145 million last year. But that's not why I did it. It's silly. I'm offended. I did it because I love my people, and my people are my shareholders. Look, they entrusted me with this corporation. I have a fiduciary responsibility by law to make them the most amount of money possible. Literally, it's by law. I could get sued if I don't do everything possible to make as much money as I possibly can for my shareholders. It's a law. Okay. Well, then you're a fucking hero. Well, it depends on how you define success, Samuel. If success is destroying people financially in order to get to the top and not caring about destroying the entire planet with toxicity, you've got all these people running around grabbing their panties and screaming about global warming. It's the most idiotic thing I've ever seen in my life. Study climatology for just a couple minutes. Just forget all the bullshit. Just study climatology. See where the Earth, the climate's supposed to be. You know where it's supposed to be? Yeah. Nobody else does either. Because the climate changes constantly. It never stays the same. Ever, never, fucking never. 400 years ago, I could walk across the Thames River in London. The Thames doesn't freeze over. It sure as fuck did then. Well, why did it freeze over? Because we're in the middle of an ice age. We even called it the mini ice age. What? There's no such thing as a mini ice age. What other name did the Maunder minimum go by? Let's see. It was a grand solar minimum, and they called it the Little Ice Age. Oh, well, wait a minute. That was from 1645 till 1715? Yeah. Well, guess what? Some science is full of crap. Look, man, every time something goes extinct from natural causes, all right, natural selection, baby. Every time an amphibian goes extinct because, I don't know, maybe because Bayer, who now owns DuPont, who created Teflon, one of the most toxic chemicals ever created in human history, and they dumped it directly into the Ohio River because they didn't want to have to pay to have it hauled away and put in a toxic waste dump. So they just said, fuck it, and they poured it in the river. And hundreds of thousands of people have gotten cancer because of it. Well, what about the wildlife? Oh, yeah, hundreds of millions of fish, farms, birds, you name it, all gone. But it's the temperature. That's what we need to focus on. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. What about things like, I don't know, tetraethyl lead in our gasoline, lead that poisoned every single human being on planet Earth for 50 years. Well, it didn't really do that much damage. Really? Because we really didn't have any Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. But breathing lead, it's not real good for you, is it? Lead is really bad for you. Houston's another good example. There are all kinds of examples of this, of big corporations destroying the planet through chemical releases. And it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. So we're poisoning Earth. We're destroying the planet, completely destroying it, making it uninhabitable. Yeah. So what do you want to focus on? Well, the sea level could rise by 3 inches. What? Well, now if this Thwaites Glacier breaks off, Thwaites Glacier is called the Doomsday Glacier. It's in Antarctica. Okay. Well, that's terrifying, I think. Yeah, except it's not really. I looked into Thwaites Glacier. See, I'm one of those idiots who uses math. Let's do some math, shall we? Oh, and by the way, the Maunder minimum was huge. But what about the Dalton minimum? When was the Dalton minimum? It's another ice age. 1790 to 1830? Well, holy shit. Are you kidding me? Like a mini ice age. Who would have thunk that? But wait, it gets better. The Dalton minimum was, it was a period of low sunspot activity representing low solar activity. I'll be dagnab. So the sun controls whether or not the earth heats up or not. No. You're suburban and cow farts. Cow farts and you're suburban. It's all your suburban and cow farts. Okay. When was the Sporer minimum? Oh, I could do this all fucking day. Oh, between 1420 and 1530. Some say as long as 1540. During this minimum, sunspots were exceedingly rare. Interesting. We analyzed the portion of carbon-14 isotopes in ancient tree rings, which fluctuates with solar radiation. Now you know why I studied dendrochronology. During this, during this period, sunspots were exceedingly rare. You can read more about the historical timeline and its potential link to the Little Ice Age on Britannica. Well, guys, that's 3 ice ages, mini ice ages. And that's in the last few hundred years. So here's the question I've got for you. What's going on now? The sun goes out in 5 billion years. Yes, that's true. There is a link between solar maximum and earthquakes. That's true. Termites give off constant, termites farting is dangerous stuff, my friend. Ain't stopping the millionaire from flying personal jets. Well, that's because they know the truth. They know the truth. And the truth is, global warming, they stopped calling it that 10 years ago because now they're calling it global climate change. Man-made global climate change. Well, let me ask you this. The biggest of these was probably the Maunder minimum. So let's go back to that. The Maunder minimum. The Maunder minimum. Trust me, it's a good reason. The monitor minimum. The Maunder minimum. Okay. Although the time of the Maunder minimum, 1645 to 1715, is widely known as a period of extremely low solar activity. Again, this just keeps coming up. It is still being debated whether solar activity during that period might have been moderate. Well, I can tell you this, and this is where it gets interesting. There were no Suburbans. We didn't drive diesels in 1645. We didn't have private jets. And I think the cows still farted back then. So what exactly caused that? If we only knew. Oh, here's a good one. Is there a grand solar minimum coming? Global climate change. It's going to cost us many, many, many trillions of dollars to fix. You're going to pay for it because it's your fucking fault. But wait. Oh, shit. Wait. When was the next solar minimum? The grand solar minimum? Are you guys ready for this? By about 2030 to 2040, the sun will experience a new grand solar minimum. Did you go to HowTube and buy my book yet? Right there. Because one of the things that we all agree on is that there's a very realistic chance that every grand solar minimum starts off with about an X100 solar flare. Why? We don't know. But it's almost like one last sneeze before the sun takes a little nap. When you walk outside, it's still going to be warm. You're still going to feel it on your face. It's going to be beautiful. But it's not going to be quite as warm. And that tiny, tiny amount that it goes down in activity, that's all it takes. So I would say that you might want my book, obviously, and you might want some silver, obviously. And by the way, grand solar minimums, we survive those all the time. In the last 500 years, there's been 600 years, there's been 3 of them. We're still here. So I don't think that's something that we really need to worry too much about. The fact that it's going to get real fucking cold in Europe. Real cold in Europe. But other than that, look, the earth does all kinds of stuff all the time. It really does. When was it different? Well, if you move to Florida, just understand that if you buy beachfront property and we have a mini ice age, sea levels worldwide should drop by several feet. Yeah, not rise like they're talking about, drop by several feet because there'll be more and more and more snow. So we'll recover all of the snow that we've lost, all the glaciers everybody's pissing their pants over. They'll be thicker than ever. And if you bought beachfront property, it won't be beachfront anymore. Just think about that. That's true, Shanester. We're having a pole flip. Now, we don't know if it's sort of a wandering pole flip where it wanders around and snaps back to where it was, or if it's what we call a full cron reversal. But it is going on right now. There's no question about that. Well, that's the thing, Dennis. Of course, it's going to be gas. It's going to be called ethanol. And you make it yourself in your still. That's all. And you don't run your generator when you don't have to. That's it. Yeah, we might have a pole reversal. And if we do, look, humans have lived through hundreds of them. Full cron and just meandering. The only thing that really, and the reason that we get an extinction event, a mass extinction event, every time we have a full cron reversal, is, to me, quite obvious. Back when scientists were trying to figure out what caused it, I just thought it's fucking obvious. If you're a dove and you're flying based on your orientation to the North Pole, if how you get around as a leatherback turtle, if how you get around as a monarch butterfly is based on your understanding of north and south, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. Your entire species may not be able to adjust fast enough. That's it. And do we have signs of that now? Well, absolutely. We've had signs of it for the last 10 years. Well, they go from California down to Mexico and back. So, what happens when the poles get to a point where north and south are at the equator and they're moving around? Maybe they fly out over the Pacific Ocean. And that's that. Who knows? Maybe some of them still fly north or don't fly at all. Who knows? That's the problem, is that migratory animals get hit hard. Migratory animals in the ocean are really fucked. Because you got nothing. You don't even have the sun to look at. You can't figure out where anything is. There are no landmarks to speak of. So if you're a salmon, you go out of this little tiny bay in Oregon every year or every 5 years. You go out into the ocean, you come back to spawn. I mean, their migratory behavior is really precise, and that's really scary for them. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, well, that's the problem, is the magnetic field, if you look at where the magnetic field lines are now, they're getting all twisted up. Look, they just had to go and repaint runways all around the world, because the runways are based on magnetic north. Well, magnetic north is moving really fast. They thought they were going to be able to wait until this year, but they moved so fast they had to redo it last year. Hammered with tornadoes. Oof. Well, those are going to look really amazing when they're out in the middle of Lake Michigan. You just don't want them too close to you, obviously. But yeah, there's a lot that's going to be going on. Is it man-made? Absolutely not. But let me ask you this: if we're going into a grand solar minimum, how does the government benefit from that? They come to you and they say, look, the sun is going into a cooling phase, and there's nothing we can do to protect you from it. Okay, so what do you suggest? Well, nothing really, because in the next 10 years, we're going to be going into a situation where the weather is going to be extremely, extremely wild. We're going to have winters that may last until July. Every couple of years, we'll have no summer at all, no growing season potentially. But anybody who lives above the X latitude is probably in deep shit. But you can't protect me. Well, no, we can't. Okay then. Why am I paying my fucking taxes then? Why am I paying you 55 cents out of every dollar I make? Why am I working my ass off from January 1st all the way until April? And all that money I make during those months, I turn around and hand to you for protection. Do you protect me from violent crime if I'm in a big city? No. Do you protect me from what? The Iranians having a nuclear weapon? They don't fucking have one. Okay, well, what do you protect me from? Well, the Russians. When was the last time Putin came out and said he wants to invade the United States? Never. When was the last time he said he wanted to take over Europe? Not that it's any of our fucking business. Never. When was the last time China said, hey guys, we're your number one trading partner and basically our economy depends on you, but we've decided that we're going to start a war with you? Never, ever, not once. Not even when they were drunk did they accidentally slip up and say that. But we're spending all of our fucking money on wars. Wars that could, should, maybe kind of happen someday. Okay, well, what happens if we don't have any wars? Well, we've still got the big war. What's the big war? Aliens? No. The really big war. Climate change. We have to change the entire planet. It's your fault, by the way. But we have to change the entire planet. Oh. Okay, how are we going to do that? Well, it's going to cost trillions. And you're going to have to pay for it, of course. But wait. So you're saying that you're going to protect me from global warming? Well, it's not really global warming now. It's global climate change. Okay, how are you going to protect me from that? Look, you're too stupid to understand the answer to the question you just asked. So here's what we want you to do. Shut up. And if you're a scientist and you ask that question, just be prepared to never, ever work again. Now, if you're looking for money for like a grant and you put it out there that you're looking to prove some of the principles of climate change and how it's based on cow farts and Chevy Suburbans, there's a lot of money floating around out there. I mean, hundreds of trillions of dollars. Oh, okay. So what you're saying is if I research the right thing, then I'll get money. And if I research the wrong thing, you'll shut me out of academia forever. No, we wouldn't say that out loud. That's what implication's for. I'm just going to imply it. I'm going to intimate that that's what I mean. So, with all that going on, and the fact that Israel wants to become our full-fledged partner in all things intelligence, they want to literally become one with us. That's literally a bill that's on the floor right now. We're going to integrate Israel and the United States' intelligence gathering together and our militaries together. Wow. Well, what could possibly come of that that's bad? Well, we're actually going to integrate our war departments and our ability to make war and the defense departments and our intelligence, the CIA and Mossad, will become one. And then, and by the way, you can verify this. I'm not making this shit up. I know it sounds horrible and very, very big brother, but this is actually something that's part of the national defense bill right now. And if it goes through, the Israelis will own you. Because the other thing that we're doing, even though we have over 5,000 data centers compared to China's 400, even though we already have 5,000 data centers, we're building an additional 3,000 data centers right now. Now, what's all that data storage for? Well, we're saying it's for AI, but what's it really for? Well, that way we can keep track of every conversation you've ever had. And I don't mean generally. We're going to keep every conversation you've ever had, every picture you've ever taken, all the metrics of that picture, all of the people in that picture, and then we're going to be able to cross-reference their faces with their files. That's what Palantir is all about. But Palantir, if you're really going to have every single human being in the United States under constant surveillance, 24 hours a day, so that if they say something that is offensive to the system, the police can be there within minutes and not months, then you have to have an enormous network. You have to have a huge amount of data gathering. You have to be able to turn their microwave it back into what it was designed for to begin with, which is a microphone. Or if they have a camera on top of their brand new smart TV, turn that on. Use their phone. Yes, there's software that shows that the phone is off, completely turned off. And without any signal, we can turn it on and watch you and listen to you. Now, here's what it boils down to. Everything I talk about is real. Everything I talk about is in the process of happening right now. None of this is made up. This isn't flat earth bullshit. I don't deal with possibles. Oh, it's possible that might happen. Oh, well, let's freak out and lose our shit over that now then. No. I've studied the grid. I've studied how bad it is. I've studied how unbelievably unconcerned our government is about it. Stunningly unconcerned. Like the words that they use to describe the amount of effort mean that they're not doing anything. Literally, if you look up the words that they use, it means nothing. They're doing nothing to fix our grid. Well, how can that be? Well, because they don't give a shit about our grid. Okay, but how can they care why wouldn't they care if the grid goes down? Because if the grid goes down for you and for me, if they know the grid's going to go down, if they suspect that there's going to be a massive solar flare or some other issue that shuts down the entire world for any amount of time, their only concern is themselves. Continuity of government, as they call it. And continuity of government, I mean, hell, they talk about that right out in the open. The amount of energy they use compared to our usage, thousands to one for each government employee. Now, here's the best part. If we have a massive solar flare and the grid goes down completely, they have underground tunnels, they have underground bases. It's been a conspiracy theory for 40 years because people keep popping up saying, yeah, I worked on an underground base. It was a fucking huge one too. But I can't really talk about it. Oh, well, where was it? Well, I'm really not supposed to say. I can tell you it's in New Mexico, but that's it. Oh, I can tell you it's in Colorado. Oh, I can tell you that it's underneath the new Denver airport. What? Underneath the new Denver airport? Why would you do that? Well, that is actually probably the safest place to build an underground base in all of the United States. Up in the high plains, you're up at 6,000 feet of elevation, right in the middle of the country, floods, whatever, it's not going to affect you. It's a perfect place to build one. Well, yeah, we'd know if they built one, right? Sure, we would know. I mean, first of all, they'd go over budget on the airport by $6 billion. Well, that's right. I think they did. Let's ask. Let's see if they give us an honest answer. How many billions of dollars over budget was the Denver airport? It looks like it was only $2 billion officially. It was only $2 billion. Wow. I'm going to ask Google something. I can't imagine they're going to have an answer for this, but what the hell? Let's try it. How big an underground space could I build with $2 billion? With $2 billion, you could, they fucking did it. You could construct between 2 million and 10 plus million square feet of underground space, depending on the geology, the depth, and whether you are building a fortified multi-level luxury bunker or a simple commercial grade open space like limestone mine. I got to tell you, even 2 million square feet would be pretty good for me. Right. But 10 million square feet, I mean, my goodness. Oh, oh no, this is interesting. Um, Deep rock mining and commercial vaults. Wow. I'm going to have to read up on that. And yes, yes, I do want to go in the middle of nowhere, maybe just outside of a major city, you know, not a few miles outside of a major city so that you don't have to worry about people showing up and buying a very large amount of land. You can't do this shit on your own. There's no way around it. So, and then getting a bunch of like-minded people to come out there with me. And, you know, the idea is if the shit hits the fan, we should be fine. Yellowstone won't blow up, guaranteed. If the shit hits the fan, we should be able to survive. But what if it doesn't hit the fan? Well, do you really want to be stuck with a bunch of dumb rednecks who are praying for the end of the world? I don't. So what I would suggest is that we come up with something that's just a little bit more, say, I don't know, normal. Like normal people who have a wife and kids or have a husband and kids and want to get the fuck out of the city, first of all. But number one, they really just, they want to enjoy their life. And by the way, in an area where there's no crime, in a high trust society, life is better. Uh-oh, Earth Lover says no. I don't know what no means. Oh, there are cave systems everywhere. The problem with a cave system is, I would have to understand the geology of the cave system really well to trust it. Not sure I want to do that. I would rather build something underground myself, knowing that, look, this is designed for what's coming. And what's coming? Well, number one, we know that a lot of very strange weather. Well, now there's a difference between rednecks and dumb rednecks. Keep that in mind. Actually, some dumb rednecks are pretty cool too. Now that I think about it, I've had friends that were pretty dumb, and they're usually the most entertaining. Let's see. Don't want to live with those crazies. Rather be normal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Arkansas. Look, northern Arkansas and southern Missouri are some really great places. The only problem is, I expect that there's going to be some pretty awful flooding. And that could be an issue. So I'd rather build in the high plains, even though it's not as fun. It's definitely a place where you can survive. It's something that I'm looking into. It's a project that's sort of in development. I like it. All right, you guys, I'm going to go. Hey, by the way, that is my phone number. If you need some silver, which you do at this point, look, if this war is over, silver's going back to where it was and then some. So don't wait. Don't sleep on it. And if you're in the stock market, seriously, if you're in the stock market, man, what are you doing? Like, why are you playing this game right now? You are literally riding a razor's edge. This could be a blow off top, or this could be the bubble that a lot of really, really good analysts think it is. I'm sitting on the fence on this one. I'm not willing to say either way because I've seen evidence for both. But evidence for both doesn't mean, oh, fuck it, I'm going all in and I'm going to have my entire financial future in the stock market. That's absolutely insane. It's irresponsible. Bottom line is, I can make you just as much money over the next year in silver as you could make in the stock market. The only difference is the stock market's the greater fool theory. You're a greater fool than the last guy if you bought his stock. And that's all there is. There's nothing behind it. It's just paper. Silver has been money for thousands of years. It's the safest investment you can possibly make, period. Where do you want to be in times like this? Because let's face it, it's a little nutty right now. It's a little crazy out there right now. So I say you should be very, very, very careful. Okay, this is not the time to go for broke. 2012, good time to go for broke. We were coming out of the Great Recession. Everything was starting to pick up. And you know what? 5 years from now, it'll be a great time again, I'm sure, but not today. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. All right. Well, guys, thanks for hanging in there with me. 2 hours and 10 minutes, just about perfect. And now I'm going to go eat. I'm hungry. You.